Hi, my name is Luke Hortzman, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm actually from Wisconsin, but I moved to Chicago when I was in grammar school. I'm a first year at Bowling Green State University, and my major is inclusive early childhood education. So, my first musical experience was really interesting. I actually went to a Paul McCartney concert. um, I think I was 11 or 12 years old, and the location was actually in North Dakota. I was on my way back from visiting my sister. She lives in Minnesota, so we just went from Minnesota to North Dakota, and my parents really wanted to go to the concert, and I didn't know if I wanted to go, but I knew they were really excited, so I was like, okay, I'll go. So it was just my parents and I. My sister didn't go, and the crowd was kind of older. Um, I could notice that it was a little older crowd, but that didn't matter. And it was in a really big arena. And when I went in, the place was huge. I don't know exactly what it was, but I think it was a basketball stadium. But there were so many people pre-COVID, and I knew Paul McCartney a little. I followed the Beatles, and my parents are really big fans of the Beatles. Almost every other day, my dad will always be playing the Beatles on the radio or on his Alexa. Um, so I knew a couple of the songs, and that made my experience at the concert way better, and I could just enjoy it more. Um, so my parents were super happy to go to the concert, obviously. Um, and the crowd, like I said, a little older, but you could just tell like the atmosphere in the arena. Like it seemed like everyone was just super excited, and again, Paul McCartney is a little older, so he might not have as many on the road trips and performances. So I knew like I had to take in everything because this might be one of the last times he ever performs. And that comes back to my age. So I think I was 12 years old when I went to the concert, and I wish I remembered more. I don't know if I had a phone or not, but I don't know. I wish I took more pictures and more videos, whether it was on my phone or my mom's phone. And then it got dark, and then everyone raised their phones with a flashlight. I think most people had flip phones when they were waving their phones around. And then another cultural identity. Talk about the parents, the age, and then gender. Have you ever seen like the first time the Beatles went to America when they performed? I think it was girls who were watching it, like teenagers. And now, and like I said before, when I went to the arena, it was all guys and girls, you know, and everyone was just having a great time. So you can see like the difference there. And another identity that was really impacted my experience was the location. Um, I had no idea. I had no idea that anything was going on in North Dakota, and then Paul McCartney performing there. And when I think of South and North Dakota, I don't know if I think anyone's really there, and you could tell like everyone from everywhere across the country you know, was going to the concert, to watch Paul and watch him perform. So it was really cool. We asked a couple people like where they're from and just talking, and some people were like Wyoming to Montana, and so it was crazy. And my cultural identity just made this experience great. And like I listed all before, like these are major aspects that came into it, and it really made the experience much better. And I was able to relate to what, like the gender, the age, the parents, like relating that to my experience. A whole new experience that I had was a whole new musical experience that I had was going to church. Um, I was It was super crowded, and once a month, um, people would people from the neighborhood, and again, usually a little older, would come into the mass in the balcony, and everyone had their own instrument, like their own bells. And then they'd get a sheet of music, and then they would hit the bell when they were supposed to play, and then it made a song. It was so crowded that I went to the balcony with my parents, and we got to see them perform. I think it was an exception because it was so crowded for some reason, and this is a really cool experience, and kind of got a different approach on what music is. I took bands in grammar school and high school, so I have some experience with music, but I've never seen anything like this, so super cool. And then just seeing people, like, it was all from people from my neighborhood, and social identity, or my cultural identity, talking about my parents coming with me to see it, and I'll talk over 6 minutes because I'm kind of stuttering. And then getting to see them, but also a sense of like community, because it was in my neighborhood church. So I did see a couple of these people, always walking around the neighborhood. So I did see people like, oh, this person's, involved in the community and playing music. So that was super cool. And the same thing, my cultural identity was easy to relate, with my parents and the community. I can relate that to my musical experience, and just gave it a whole new outlook on music and how I look at music. And I think that was the major thing that I learned through the project and throughout this chapter.